of brigandage to proclaim himself as chairman. That's unacceptable. That's undemocratic.
But you see, that's the dynamic that we keep seeing in political parties. We're seeing that even with the People's Democratic Party, where a court order and then party constitutions seem to be at variance. Some people are more loyal to, it's a party, we're supposed to do this things by ourselves. But then there are other people who feel, look, this wasn't addressed. I'm going to go get a court order that gives me what I need, which I think is the right thing. So that person comes with a court order, and then there are people who are still loyal to what the party constitution says, which I think is what's going on as well in the Labour Party. What's the way out? If we're unable to get the two people, the tables to come together, how can we now trust that you can handle a country as complex as Nigeria?
Well, let me actually continue by saying good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for joining us. Now, I've always made it clear that I would never blame the ruling party for anything that is happening in the opposition party. Because excuses and successes do not go hand in hand. I listened to His Excellency Atiku Abubakar saying that the ruling party gives 50 million naira to the opposition party. I was not ashamed of the ruling party. I was ashamed of the opposition party. You are actually indicting the opposition that they are very corrupt. If there is no willing receiver, there will be no available giver. It is a legitimate political police for any association, party or country to use whatever means to destabilize the opposition or opponent.
They are bound to fail.
It's not like Nigeria spying on Niger Republic. And you're telling me, for instance, that if there are people from Niger Republic who are accepting the money of Nigeria to sell their own country, then you are coming to blame Nigeria for doing what they should do.
You don't want to blame
opposition has not lived up to the expectation of the Nigerian people. And they should own up, take responsibility of that
corruption
and go back amongst themselves and do the right thing.
How do you blame
reject the ruling party's offer to destabilize you. Because it is in their own political interest to destabilize the opposition. But the opposition allowing itself to be destabilized shows that they are incompetent and corrupt. What is going on in the opposition party is because of the opposition party, not because of the ruling party. In 2023, when we convinced Nigerians that there should be a change of government, we rejected every entity from the ruling party. There is nobody in opposition that is very popular, that is very focused in what is doing, that will not be enticed by the ruling party. It is whether you accept it.
It's a slave.
So when you accept it, don't come to begin to blame the ruling party. Look at what is going on in PDP, for instance, as what you said. Some people came out as G5, walked against the interest of the party,
PDP.
Not covertly.
I became slave to him.
And everybody saw it. And you, the opposition party, accommodated them and excused.
How do you see that?
Gave excuses for them. Normally, when you allow such things, it will start graduating. Now they want to take over the party. Now the ruling government has given them appointment. And from that seat, they can use whatever income that is coming to purchase the remaining people. So they will go ahead to hijack the party. And when they hijack the party, then the true members of the party will become servants to the servant. Because their main leaders are now servants to APC, being ministers in APC. And the remaining ones are servants to that leader. So the PDP is now a servant of servants to APC. So you have to reject the yoke on your neck. You have to say, let me breathe.
Thank you.
So what is happening in the PDP? Can you imagine the secretary? A court has given decision, has given judgment. The first court has given judgment. The appellate court has given judgment. And you're still sitting there claiming stay of execution. That's what we call balance of convenience in law. By the time you are talking about granting an application to somebody, you have to check the balance of convenience. If you say the secretary that did not get judgment should remain in office while the Supreme Court is considering it, it is an injustice on the person that got judgment. Because before the Supreme Court will finish, the tenure would have finished. No. The person that has judgment of a court should take possession, pending if you go and get contrary judgment. Because the balance of convenience is in his favor. It will be an injustice.
I don't want us to miss that thought, because that was a sticky point. We will continue, but that was a sticky point yesterday when we were having a conversation here with former spokesperson of the PDP, Kolo Logbodion. And one of the things that he mentioned really was the fact that, look, a stay of execution is not infinite. It doesn't last forever. And he was saying that lawyer, so you're a lawyer.
Yes.
Explain to me how a stay of execution works. Can it be overridden, as we have seen with the People's Democratic Party and the BOT?
Right. In one case that I was involved in Court of Appeal, we won the case. And somebody brought an application for stay of execution in the Court of Appeal. And we were saying, this is like coming from the back door to make the Court of Appeal to overrule itself. If you have anything against the judgment, appeal to the Supreme Court. The Court of Appeal granting a stay of execution is like saying that we were wrong in our judgment. Now, stay of execution also does not operate against a declaratory judgment. Declaratory judgment is simply saying you are the owner of this building. This title belongs to you. So what are you saying? It's declaratory. Now again, you have the right to appeal to the Supreme Court. As for accelerated hearing, not using the instrumentality of a stay of execution to overrule a full judgment of the court. And again, I learned that even the stay that they had was pending the hearing on the next day, on the next adjourned day, and that day had gone. So the BOT of PDP, and let me admit that they are actually moving towards the right direction, because if you don't insist on the right thing, then the wicked and ignorant people will take over your party and mess it up for you. So the BOT, the organs of the party, they are actually even coming late. They ought to have done this as early as the next day after presidential election. Because once you do not treat an ailment, it can become terminal and cancerous. So what happened is that, as far as I'm concerned, the Secretary of PDP is as proclaimed by the court of law, because that's full judgment of the court. So anybody saying that's an application, and an interim application, and in my own opinion, the Court of Appeal should not even have the jurisdiction to grant stay of execution, because you are actually overruling your own judgment.
In your party,
yes,
Julius Abure has court judgment. Why don't you all rally behind him?
Good. Because court judgment is not a court that brings democracy to the people. It is the people that decide who governs them. And you can see that the so-called judgment is ridden with inconsistencies and contradictions. The courts say they don't have jurisdiction, that the issue is not justiciable. And then you're saying that we should begin to take your judgment in a Bisenis case, that you're applying it in Nennadi Usman's case. And we are saying, no, sir. If you don't have jurisdiction, the case is dead like dodo. That is the principle of law. Jurisdiction is the power of a court to determine a matter. So if a court does not have power to determine a matter by its own admission, then why are you giving an order from the back door?
So, what is dead like dodo? I want to add it to my lexicon.
You have to be a Yoruba sister to understand that. I just spoke Yoruba, you know, and I lived, you know.
I want to apply this in my lexicon. It's dead, you know, like dodo.
Like dodo. Okay. Yeah. You know, we the Lagosians, you know, we know what we're talking about.
on to one story really from the Labour Party that's really got a lot of people upset. In fact, the governorship aspirant, the aspirant for the Labour Party, Mr. John Wosu, for the upcoming November 8th election in Anambra State. He was talking about the killing of Justice Azoka. His body was found rotting, you know. And so it's been a very shocking situation, because he's a lawmaker. And the idea that something like that can happen to someone of that stature, and of course, everyone is calling out the Anambra State Governor, Mr. Soludo, saying, no, look, up the security game. What is this about? How can a lawmaker's body just be found killed and rotting somewhere on the road? You know, and the shock of it all. Let's talk a little bit about how the Labour Party is looking at this situation. At least we've heard from John Wosu. How does the party see it?
It's very pathetic. It's unconscionable. And that explains the general malaise that we have in this country. That a sitting member of the House of Assembly will be so much degraded, killed, and his corpse treated so disrespectfully. You can imagine the fate of the ordinary man. Now, this is the failure of the system. And I'm telling you, in as much as I agree that the state government has a share of the blame, the federal government is to be squarely blamed. You know, you cannot. Yes, I've said it so many times. The federal government does not have what it takes to protect every inch of the land of Nigeria and every person in this country, because our security is undermanned and under-equipped. So we don't have what it takes. Why don't you liberalize the security system? The state governments deserve to have state police. They deserve to have the equipments, the men to fight these things within their territory. Why are you assuming responsibility that you don't have enough authority to accomplish? So kidnappers picked him, who has the monopoly of the security forces. The federal government. You have only one police. You have only one IG. Now, they took him, killed him, put his corpse in such a manner. Federal government. Because it is not only when you want to, exude power that you begin to say, no, carrying arms is illegal, the state is this and that, but you are not just providing the security. Why don't you allow state police? If Anambra had state police now, I would sit down here comfortably to blame the state governor, to blame the state apparatus, but they will be begging to even be allowed to use the chakakmam gun, and they will still not be given. So the issue here is that, okay, look at the DG, the former DG of NYSC, a general, and his entire family kidnapped in Katsina. When you're kidnapped, you are under the mercy of those people. They can just waste you, like they did to this man. Even if you pay ransom, something might just go wrong. So this is a systemic failure, systemic security lapse and failure that we should blame the federal government squarely. It's either they have enough men and materials and money to secure us, or they should liberalize it. By now, as a nation that has more than 200 million persons, we ought to be operating the federal police, the state police, the community police. And you have just the federal police. It is not enough. So it's a failure of the